For those that still own and drive a Nissan Sentra that's just as old as this one right here, you better pay attention because this video is just for you. Okay? We're going to work on the whole front suspension rebuild and redo the whole brakes, caliper. So if anyone has this old car, you just come along for the ride here. Now first, let's just take a look at all the parts that we need to get this car road ready once again. I'm sitting in the trunk of this other car in front of me, my little Honda. Okay? So just one little disclaimer here, that I'm not a certified mechanic or anything like that, okay? This is the first time I'm doing this, so you're just coming along and watch what I do. If I make a mistake, that's okay. That's just part of the learning experience, okay? Just don't take this information too serious. This video is just an observation to see how I work on this car and how it all plays out, okay? It's just for any quirky millennials, Zoomers that still have quirky old cars like I do. Oops. Let's try that again. There's my brake pads. Ignore this. This is for this car. I have some tie rods. These are rubber bushings for the top strut. And these are the steering knuckles. And some brake rotors. We have these lower control arms. And let's take a look at the garage. And there's still some more parts I had in long-term storage. Here are some new struts without the springs that I already have in storage, along with the rubber bellows. And these are the rack and pinion steering bellows that I will also replace. And motor mounts that may have to be for another time. Now let's unload all of this stuff onto the floor and see what we have here. Okay, so let's take a look at all 94 Cs under this little thing here. In all of its beauty, all 94 Cs of Nissan raw power here. Okay, so I probably won't finish it today, but we're going to start on the right side of this car to do all the suspension and the brakes and all that. I don't have much daylight left, but it doesn't hurt to get started though, doesn't it? I'm going to try to remove this cotter pin here. Oh, thank God. Well, looks like I finally got the axle nut off. It's been a couple of weeks since the last clip I filmed. I sprained my ankle, now I'm back at it. This was such a pain to remove by hand. I couldn't get it off with the wheels spinning. Thank God. Here's the cotter pin to the tie rod that I removed from the castle nut. So I'm going to try to remove this tie rod, the nut of it, the 19mm here. I think that came off easier than I thought. Everything is all gunky here. I'm going to clean everything up later with some brake cleaner or something. Set that aside. Okay. I'm going to try out this tool now to separate this tie rod ball joint from the knuckle. Also a 19mm on this tool. Guess I'll use an impact gun on this one. It'll fit. This way. Come on. I guess that doesn't work. Let's try something different. I'm going to continue doing this off camera so this doesn't take too much screen time, but if you get the idea, get this tool to remove this tie rod, that's all. Okay, it's finally off now. I had to do this by hand using this tool, this special tool here. This thing just popped off. Here I use this 22mm wrench to remove and loosen the nut that holds the lower ball joint together that you can't see here. And I'm probably going to have to use this special tool again to remove it. So I'm going to do this off camera again so I can focus. Okay, just trying to remove the lower ball joint. Can't use an impact because that thing's too big. Just gonna have to do it by hand. This is gonna take a while. Well, we all make mistakes, don't we? I put it on backwards, so I unscrew it. Let's try it again, the right time. I think it's supposed to go like that. I'm gonna keep working that off camera now. Okay, so I've been going at it for quite a few hours with lots of struggle, trial and error. I finally got the tie rod off, the two nuts off. Here I used there's 17mm bolts, so I had to get two one cheater bar and one socket wrench with a bar over it to give me leverage to remove the bottom one. That gave me a lot of struggle. I already loosened the 3 nuts on top in the engine bay that's holding this tower. I finally was able to get this ball joint off of the knuckle. Now everything, I'm going to try to get it to come apart now. Now if you want to ask me how to do it exactly, I'm not going to give you that answer. There's tons of videos online how to do it. I'm just showing how to do it. For this Sentra, whoever drives a Sentra that's this old, oh, looks like the stud went back inside the knuckle for the ball joint. Alrighty, okay. Get the CV axle out of the way. There we go. Finally. Now, what a struggle. Cut! Okay. Let's see. This strap bar is loose. All that's holding it is the 3 nuts on top, so I'm just gonna take those out and this will just come off. Everything after that I'll stop for today. Because I'm getting hungry, it's time for dinner, and I'll do this another time. I've already loosened the nuts, like I said, on top. They're either 10 or 12 millimeters on top. I have to get a socket. So now the nuts are held on by weight. Oh, it's a 12 millimeter. Don't mind me if you see my ass crack by accident, okay? First nut. Second nut. Third nut, I'm going to have to hold on to the strut tower. Now it's just dangling. Okay. Huzzah! This old beast is out now. Wow. So much space in there. This empty cavity. Okay. It's the next day. Sunny afternoon. Took me a while to figure out how to loosen that stubborn bolt right here. For the lower control arm. It's a 22 millimeter on both sides of the nut and bolt. I had to wrap my whole legs around this Mickey Mouse setup of a chock with this wrench resting on the chock. I had to wrap my legs and move my body forward around for this to stay still while I use this cheater bar and this 22 millimeter socket wrench to break it free. I finally heard a crack. That was a lot of force, I'll tell you that. So I'm going to keep loosening it. Still loosen the bolts on the bushings underneath the car right here. This will take a while, a minute or so. Okay, I think it's loose enough to be loosened by hand. The other wrench fell off. Anyway, I'm going to finish loosening this bolt off camera. You don't need to watch all of this. Okay. This is the big old bugger nut I got out right there from the control arm. So I have this 18 millimeter socket. I'm going to try to remove the 2 bolts right here for the other bushing that connects to the body of this car. Try a cheater bar this time, as always. Oh wow, that was easier than I expected. I really had to fight a tough battle with the other one. Now, eventually, I'm going to have to use brake cleaner to clean off all the grime off these bolts, because I'm going to reuse them and installing the new parts. At least some of these bolts that do not come provided with the new parts. Also got to be careful just to hand thread them so I don't cross thread them. It's a long one there. Let's do the other one. I can find it first. Anyway, I'm going to finish doing this off camera again. And I'll show you the results once I fully remove it. There we go. You old bugger. I lied. I said I was going to do off camera, but threads were already loose. There you go. The gunky, worn out control arm. I'm going to assume that it's original from Nissan, from the factory, so it's probably long overdue for a change. The bushing on this end doesn't look too bad, although the ball joint has seen better days. So out with the old, as Chris Fix would say. Okay, next I'm going to try to figure out how to get this tie rod out for the steering. Another day. I had to put the knuckle and the strut tab back on temporarily, loosely, so I could have some leverage to remove the nut that's holding this outer tie rod in, using a 19mm wrench and a hammer. So I already broke it loose. I loosened it, turn it back a few more turns, the alignment mark, and I'm going to count how many turns I loosen up the outer tie rod so I know for alignment purposes. For the record, 25 turns. Now, when I loosened this nut, I thought it was lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, but no, it's righty-loosey, lefty-tighty in this case. So 25 turns. Okay. I've already went underneath the car and removed the wire clamp that secures this rubber boot. It's already torn, so I'm going to take that out. Here's the worn out outer tie rod in with the ball joint. The rubber's all gone. Out comes the torn boot. In half. It's not good. And here's the wire tie. I had to go to O'Reilly's the other day to rent this special tool for removing the inner tie rod in. So I'm going to do that now using
this cheater bar to take the stress off of it. Let's see what I'm doing. Oh, guess I went off easier than I thought. Oh yeah, I'm gonna figure out getting this off, but I'll show you the results when I finally get it off. Ah, success! Inner tie rod's off. Alright. So now I'm gonna remove this knuckle and strut tower again. This is just to help give me leverage from before for the outer tie rod removal. Now we'll get a shot of the empty cavity of this car afterwards. Well, hello there. It's nighttime. I'm just putting the finishing touches on reassembling this new strut assembly. Took me a couple of hours to figure it out, but I think I got it down pat. Shove that out of the way. Hopefully I did it right. I got the new boot, the rubber boot inside the piston. I got the white piece of plastic inside this assembly. It's called the inner race that helps you move this thing on its axis. I cleaned it up and put some new grease here. I don't know if you see that, it's white lithium grease. And put it all back together. So I'm just gonna take off these compressor thingies. And I'll get a torque wrench and torque the top nut in the middle down to about 50 foot-pounds. I'll pull that lock nut out. There's the first one. And there goes the second one. As you know, this is a spring, so please be very careful. Don't hurt yourself. They don't call these tools winner makers for no reason. Just get the torque wrench and torque it down. Well, it's not torquing, but I think that should be good enough. It's snug. So let's see 3 lines on the top of the threads. It should be good enough. There you have it. My new strut assembly for the front right. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. Rookie mistake. See this part of this metal lip on the bottom of the strut tower assembly? This bottom part of the spring, where it ends, needs to be seated right there where this lip is. Look like this. I made the mistake of not doing that, so I had to bend the spring again and fix that. Anyway, well, I'm just doing a test fitment. Everything seems to line up here. Okay, I don't know if you can see that real good, but it's been a couple of days, a few days at most, since the last kind of work I did. I've already took out the other side of the suspension, but I was spending the past couple of days trying to remove the booster out, the brake booster. Oh god, what a pain. You had to go inside the cabin in the firewall to get those nuts out. Two of them are behind the steering column. The top one I had to get up and around the column to get the nuts off. And at the end of the clevis pin that's holding the brake pedal together with the booster is a little plastic piece I unfortunately had to break to free the clevis pin after I also removed the cotter pin. So now I'm just going to take it all out now. I don't see that very well. There you go. Oh, looks like we have a few hard lines in the way. It's kind of not easy to do this one-handed. Don't destroy the brake lines. Oh yeah, let's just try turning that. Alright, this is going to be a two-handed job again. Oh, it's finally out. Don't mind the neighborhood dog barking. God, this thing was a royal pain in the ass to get out. Come on. Come on. Ugh. God damn this thing. I'm going to have to reuse this bracket and transfer that on the new booster. Gotta find a way to take that off. Oh, I had to remove this canister that was mounted to the firewall as well to give me some more room, along the other vacuum hoses. God, this thing's nasty on the bottom. It's a good thing I'm changing it now. Avoid the headaches for later. Alright, here's the old master cylinder. It's just as equally as disgusting. Ugh. Look at that shit. I'm going to work on the rear suspension now. Let me get this strut off. I've already loosened the nuts on top. I took out all the seats. Get this rusted rotor off. See if we can try to get this rear strut out without removing the entire wheel knuckle and bottom springs. This one loosened up easier than I thought. Oop. Alrighty, first bolt is loose. Let's see if we can get to the bottom one. Still shiny on the inside. Not enough leverage. Let's try the other way. No easy way out. I have to take all this out just to get to that bolt. Fun. Actually, found another breaker bar. Let's try this way. There we go. Broke free. Good thing this other breaker bar has a ratcheting mechanism. Now let's see if we can try to get this strut out. Don't mind me if you see my ass crack by accident. Okay, I got it free. One thing I forgot to mention, don't forget to disconnect your brake lines before you do this. It's held in by a C-clip or a U-clip, this thing here. I just used pliers and a flathead screwdriver to get it out. Alrighty, I'm going to take out the nuts on top and try and free this out here. Okay, the strut's out. I had to ask my tenant to come out and help me catch it before it fell, loosening the last bolt. So now I'm going to have to compress the springs again and swap it in the new strut. That'll be fun. As you can see, those are the new struts in the background. I already compressed the springs for the back. So in the meantime, just gonna get this stuff all cleaned up. These are the bolts and brackets for the front struts or front suspension components. I guess with the magic of editing, I'll find a way to speed up this filming process. Alrighty, spent about a couple of hours cleaning the hardware. Cleaned up all these bolts and nuts, and then all this gunk off of the strut tower plate. I also took about another good 40 minutes cleaning these wheel knuckles. I had new bearings put in by my mechanic across the street, because I didn't want to deal with it putting the wheel bearings in myself. Very time consuming, so I let them do it for $30 each. Well, that's about it for tonight. I didn't bother cleaning these bolts. These are from the bag, already cleanish. Till the next day. Okay, it's the next day. Going to the Nissan dealership in Garden Grove to pick these up. Couldn't believe they still had them, but these are the rubber grommets that go on the bottom of the springs to dampen the noise. And if you want the part number, it's 5503650A00 for your reference. So I'm just going to put all this together now. Okay, I'm going to consult the manual, see if it all lines up. Alright, I just finished the left strut. Now I'm going to do the right one. Put the little cap back on. Hopefully it'll fit and I don't have to readjust this again. Okay, took me about like maybe 20 minutes to loosen up the spring here on the right one. Just gonna take this off. Voila! Newly redone spring for the suspension. Okay, 17mm to tighten up the top nut again. Okay, it's May already. This car's taking a little longer than I expected. I just finished putting the rear struts back together. It took a while. I forgot to mention for all struts, you have to look right here. There is this arrow engraved in the top plate of the metal that has to face outward towards the car. Otherwise, your strut is not aligned and you can't mount it correctly with the studs on top lining up with the bracket here on the bottom. So I have to fix that for the rear struts and recompress the springs and do that. So now I'm just going to tighten the two nuts and bolts on the bottom knuckle there. Here is wheel hub. We need thread locker for 2 bolts here. I'm going to apply that now. Just do the first bolt and we'll tighten it down. I'm going to torque it down to 75 foot-pounds. Okay, that was torqued. Alright. Oh, almost forgot to reconnect the brake line, so I'm going to do that now. In fact, I use this special 10mm flare nut wrench to tighten up my brake lines. I had to feed the line into this bracket on the strut. This metal part on the rubber hose portion has a flat side, and the other side has like a little curve with a little triangle sticking out. to make sure that matches and fits on the bracket. So I connected the hard brake line to the soft rubber one before I mounted it on the bracket and secured it with the metal C-clip. I don't even know why I'm explaining this, but I'm doing it anyway. Just keep tightening it until I can't tighten it anymore. There. I guess I'll put the wheel back on for now. I'll probably take it off since I need to bleed the brakes last. Well, both the rear struts are done. I found this from a junkyard car, so now I have all 4 of these beauty rings. I'm going to torque these wheels once I put it back on the ground. Well, doesn't that look pretty? As you can see, I had to take the seats out to have access to the rear strut towers. Now I'm going to put it back together. I'm going to change that. Well, I laid out all my new parts and tools. So I'm going to do the front right passenger side of the suspension today. I don't know if I'll get it all done, but we'll see. Okay, got the inner tie rod socket on. There was like a metal plate with 2 inserts that has to line up with the rack. So I just put some lithium grease on the end there, the white stuff. So I'm gonna torque it down to maybe 65 foot-pounds. Service manual calls for 5872-ish. I'd say 65 is a good middle ground, so I'll do that. I'm going to have to use that special tool again I didn't return to O'Reilly's yet to torque everything down. Don't lose the receipt. I need that to return the tool. Yeah, it's this weird thing. This is the size 1 3/16 for the inner socket, for those that want to know about that. Okay. Good, all torqued. power socket on. Okay, new tie rod is installed. I counted 25 turns, just like I did when I took off the old one. I think next I'll do is the lower control arm. That. Okay, control arm is in. I'm going to torque everything down now. Good. Just a quick tip, I found that when I'm torquing this down, I use a 22mm wrench because the nut and bolt is a 22mm. I use this green handle end of that special tool I'm renting to give me leverage, most importantly, so that I can torque it. Otherwise this is just spinning in the air. This gets torqued down to about 65 foot-pounds. The bracket that holds the lower control arm to the body with a 17mm bolt. Oh, also, before I did this, I almost forgot to put on a blue thread locker on the bolts holding this bracket, and then the other big bolt holding the control arm together. Forgot to mention that. Okay. Okay, next is that strut tower. Put that back on, then I'll put the wheel knuckle on and finish it up, but I'll do the brakes last. Okay, on there. I already did the other side off camera. I won't torque it down until I put the knuckle back on. Now, next is the knuckle. Torque it down at 80 foot-pounds from the strut tower to the knuckle. It's a 17mm bolt, by the way. Oh, also I put thread locker on these things before I torque them. Oh, so this top bolt here is a squared off bolt, so I don't need to use another bar to keep it down, because this part of the knuckle has like a little metal part that keeps that squared off nut in place. Alright. Next I'm going to button up the castle nut on the tie rod. I lost the cotter pin, but good thing I have spares I found from my dad's old stuff. 25 foot-pounds, by the way, for that. Use the big guns for the big axle nut. Hopefully it'll stay on there. Obviously I can't use a torque wrench because this thing will keep spinning. Alright, put this console cover on and button up with a cotter pin. In this case, the impact gun is very useful since I have nothing to hold these wheels, the hub. "20 foot-pounds with Loctite." Okay. So it's the following day now. I finished doing the passenger side suspension parts, so I'm just gonna do it on this side of the driver's side to finish it up. And with the magic of editing, it will be all done with the snap of a finger. Okay, as you can see, both front sides have been done. It took me like a day or a day and a half for each side. Brakes, suspension, steering. We're getting there. All that's left is put this back together. I took out the interior because the dash pad was all cracked. I have another one I pulled from a parts car when I was living in San Jose that's in slightly better condition. Still has one crack, but I'm gonna put it in, drop the car down, bleed the brakes, and go from there. If I can't get the steering column back up, I'm just gonna have this car towed to my mechanic across the street and let him deal with it. Alrighty, it's been a day or two. I have most of the interior put back together, which I did that earlier today. Doesn't look like much, but this was another whole day's of work. I can't figure out how to put the steering column back on the bracket mount. I think it's collapsible. I might just have this car towed to my mechanic across the street and have him deal with it. Put it back on for me. And everything else, this car is like 85% done.
Yeah, I gotta put the door panels back on because I'm trying to find the goddamn screws for my door speakers. At the junkyard, I cut the connectors off of the original harness for the door speakers, which I really needed. Splice that in on both sides. Engine bay is mostly put back together. I did change this ignition coil, even though I didn't have to. I had the new part in storage. I was like, why not? I also upgraded to intermittent wipers with the corresponding relay and the control lever on the steering column. I hooked up the battery, and the intermittent wipers don't seem to work quite right just yet. So that's gonna take some more troubleshooting. Yeah, I have all the wheels put back on loosely. They're not torqued down yet, since I still need to bleed the brakes. That's one of the last things I need to do. God, I've been working on this car for over a month now, since like late March. It's May. Ugh. Gonna put the trim back inside the trunk. I'll just call it a night. Car's coming back together nicely. Here's the new master cylinder. Thankfully I had a neighbor across the street that was a mechanic. He came over to help me bleed the brakes. And he was nice enough to help me put the steering column back up in the car. That was a two-man job as well. So I'm just gonna put the door panels back together and give it a first start in the 1.5 months since this thing's been on jack stands. Okay, let's start up the car. Let's see how it runs after a month of sitting here. Well, looks like the battery's dead. I was not expecting that. Gonna have to jump it. Just a second. I'm going to use my Honda and pull up on the driveway and just jump it like that with my emergency kit. It's already dark, can't see anything, but that's okay. Okay, let's give it a try. Yay, it runs now. Gonna let the car run for a couple minutes so the alternator can charge the battery. And I think I'll test everything, make sure the brakes work and whatnot, and then I'll put the wheels back on, hopefully. Alright, finally on ground zero. Let's torque it down. Alright, all torqued down. Let's take it for a spin. Give it a quick jounce test. Well, did do a test drive. I went to the mechanic. The only thing I need to fix is this loose strut. I gotta tighten the top nut on the strut tower since now there's weight on the car. So I'm gonna do that. I have to take the seats out again. Okay. I had to drive back to the mechanic so he can help me get vice grips and a special 17mm wrench to help me tighten that top nut on the top of the strut tower here so it won't make any more noises. That's much better. Just gonna put the seats back and clean up this disgusting center console. Put it back together. My mechanic also helped me remove the rusty screw that prevented me from taking this center console piece out. I'll take Ollie Nissan to get alignment. Okay, interior is back together. Put the center console back in. I was able to relocate the tape deck. I have it right underneath the radio. I had to remove the cubby hole when I had the center console out. So now I don't have to reach around the side of the car, or the center console, or the radio, or whatever, to play my tapes. Also got the trunk light to work finally, after 3 years of owning this car. So I did not use the factory original harness that was in the car. I kind of bypassed it using an extra connector for this trunk light from another parts car I pulled. The grounding cable is still this plunger switch. So it just turns off when I press on it. And I run a power line all the way through the car, under the car, through the firewall, straight to the battery, just for the positive. The ground is still the plunger switch. There is also a inline 5-amp fuse that I added here just for the trunk light. Gonna have to take this car for an alignment some other day. I ran out of time. Test driving this in the neighborhood. This is probably a bad idea to be driving while filming, but oh well. Seems to be doing so far so good. Still in first gear. Second. See nobody's behind me, I'll do a braking test. Oh, it stops pretty good. Okay. Here's a bumpy part of the road. That's so much better. Alright. I just got the new turn signal control lever in the mail today. I thought I'd spruce it up, and this one still works. I thought I'd replace this since it looks all faded and stuff from the sun. Okay, the new turn signal stock is installed. Little things like this really makes a big difference in this, in the interior of the car. Blah, 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 in the interior of the car. This one is a little bit better. It has built-in cruise control, even though this car does not have cruise control yet. But it looks good. Here's the old one. I tested it, turning on the lights and everything, and turn signals, and it functions as it should, minus the cruise control, obviously. Here is a modification I did for the trunk reflector bar. There's supposed to be a clear red lens. I turned it into a functional third brake light. These are 2 LED strips that I got from AutoZone. And what you do is you get a red wire and a black one for power and ground. I just ran a power and ground wire and tapped into the power and ground wire for the stoplight. I checked the wiring diagrams and traced it. So I just tapped into those wires and ran a power and a ground from there to here with a separate fuse, a 5 amp, and it ends up right there. In the wiring diagram, it's pin 448, green, light green with black as the power wire for the stop lamp, and black, which is pin 944 or 9090 or 1994 something, for the ground for this stoplight. So that's how you do that. And if I let go of the brake pedal here, everything turns off. Final product of 1 month's work on the car, and I think it's best to end this video that I'm making here in this empty parking lot of the dead Westminster Mall here in Orange County. Now, my skills for editing is not perfect, so forgive me, but so far I've been driving the car and everything seems to be pretty firm. Really smooth, and it rides almost like a brand new car. I took the car to get aligned. It's almost straight. There's one strut on the front left, new one that's missing a squared off metal bracket welded to the metal, and the top bolt is squared off too. And the technician could not adjust it right since I don't have that squared off part. But other than that, the car drives really nice. I will put pictures of how much I spent on parts for this car on the screen somewhere. So that's about it for now. There's still a few things left I have to do on the car, such as motor mounts, the AC system, and other small things.
Hopefully I'll get that hashed out this year when I have the time. But just thanks for watching this. I like your feedback.
So I'm just not asking for any fame or whatever on the internet. I'm just making this video to see if it helps anybody who owns a rare car just like this, old Nissan. All I ask is for your feedback on how can I improve on the video quality and if there's anything that I missed. And I will read all the feedback and comments and I will appreciate that. That's all.